The topic that I am talking about with you today is actually how to be a boss. Many of my friends, especially men, both young and middle-aged men, have always had this dream in their hearts of one day achieving a successful career of their own. Whether the business is big or small, they always hope to become a boss and a successful entrepreneur. Of course, if it can go public, that's even better. No matter where the company is listed, it's a lifelong bragging right to say, I'm the boss of a listed company. This is something every person, every boy, and even some ambitious girls might have. This kind of vision in their hearts. So how do you realize this vision? Today, we'll use my own life experiences to talk with you about my insights on this. Without further ado, let's get straight to the point. The first point is how to be a boss, how to make big money, and how to cultivate your own excellent leadership skills. First, if a man wants to forge himself, he needs to be clear about what leadership ability actually is. Don't go listening to that chicken soup for the soul from those successful people. They're all losers. If they were successful, would they need to stand there talking? Right? Except for me, of course. I'm just here talking because I've got nothing better to do. Those guys have been standing there selling videos since they were kids. That's not it. So, what is leadership? Excellent leadership. Leadership is the ability to organize resources and mobilize the people around you to serve you. That's called leadership, the ability to make others revolve around you. That's leadership. In a nutshell, it's making others revolve around you rather than you revolving around others. Regarding leadership, there are two life stages. The first stage is before you're 25 to 28, this stage must be completed. And you must go through this stage. The first stage is called the maximizing your value of being used stage. I'm talking about children of ordinary people, those with no family background, but who have a good brain for exams, a very high IQ, and went to a good university. Before you're 28 or 30, 25, if you're fast, 28 if you're slow, after 30 there's no hope. You must complete this first stage of life called maximizing your value of being used. In this stage, if anyone calls you as long as they're your elder, have more resources than you, or even if they're your peer and asks you to organize something or help with something using your resources, don't say no. Don't think about losing out or what they'll give you. Don't think about those things. Just do it. This is called maximizing your value of being used, because you are clearly being used. Because you have no resources, your only resource is being used. Being used by others is the only value in your life. So, through being used time and time again, you get the chance to participate in circles you couldn't reach before. In these social circles, whether it's a business dinner, a night out drinking, or a conference on a business trip, being in these circles allows you to meet people you otherwise wouldn't know. It's like playing a massive NPC game. You enter a new environment, talk to different people, and once you know them, the threads of resources start coming together in your hands. This is what I call the first stage of success in life, the stage of maximizing your utility to others. But you might ask, Lao Wang, why are there two stages, and why must the stage be completed before age 30? Because if you're always just collecting threads and never actually weave them into a real network, your life will essentially remain stuck at the level you reached at age 30. Many of my viewers now, perhaps in their 40s or 50s, haven't managed to build a successful business. Even though they started around age 30, they still haven't surpassed that initial threshold. Why is that? It's because you're stuck in that cycle of maximizing your utility to others from your 30s. By 30, a man's beard starts to coarsen. As a man's true strength begins to emerge, you must evolve to the next stage. That next stage is about utilizing others rather than being utilized. It's about giving others opportunities, not waiting for them to give you one. You might say, Lao Wang, I need opportunities myself. I'm just an ordinary guy with nothing. How can I give others opportunities? Let me give you two counterexamples. These are people I know personally. Some were classmates, others were juniors. I watched them grow and mature, only to see them waste their lives away. One of them was a college classmate from Beijing. He attended BIT, which is the Beijing Institute of Technology, and he was in the very best department, studying the most prestigious and highly respected major. His starting point in college was already higher than Liu Dai's, giving him an initial advantage. Liu Dai, for context, is the senior vice president of Xiaomi. But why exactly did he fail to build a meaningful career for himself and end up remaining stuck in his pre-30 state? Let's call him Little F. Well, actually Old F now. Oh, Old F's father. His family. His father was the chief engineer at a very prestigious national-level research institute in China. He was the first person in our college to drive a car. Back in college, he had his own minivan. Imagine, in 93 or 94, he could drive and had a van. He was 6 feet tall, a Beijing kid charisma. With that background, his resources were endless. This is Old F. There's another one 2 years below us. I call him Little P. He's become Old P now. Old P is from Yunnan. His family background is also very good, very good. His father was the head of a national defense research unit in Yunnan. So sent to a school like BIT, one of the 7 sons of national defense, you can imagine the family and university resources were fully integrated. His father could give research projects to the university, so his son smoothly stayed in Beijing. He smoothly stayed at the school and became a university professor. Now, as everyone knows, about 20 years ago, when we graduated from university, in the late 90s, the early 21st century, which was 20 years ago, Chinese university professors could go into business. It wasn't considered a violation. It was legal business. You're a major university professor at an engineering school, young and promising, with a PhD, returned from the US, and became an associate professor. You weren't even 30 that year. And then your father is the boss of a large state-owned national defense research institution in a provincial capital. Think about how many resources you have concentrated in your hands. So the two examples I just mentioned, they're typical examples of early success. It's like being dealt a great hand. Not exactly a king bomb, but close. It's like 3 5s, 3 2s, 3 kings. That's the kind of starting hand they had. Now, compared to us ordinary folks, we're dealt a bunch of small random cards. We have to scrape together sets. Before the age of 30, they were leading all the... So why are they limited at 30? Unable to move from the first stage of maximizing their utility value and having their resources organized by others to leaping up and organizing others' resources. They get stuck at this hurdle. This hurdle is like the carp leaping over the dragon gate. If you can't get over it, you can't succeed. What does this hurdle mean? This hurdle is that when you're young, or after you've completed the stage of maximizing your utility value at 28, the more resources you have in your hands, the fewer opportunities you have. Do you understand? I didn't say it backwards. It's a paradox. That is, the more complete your starting stats are, the fewer resources you have. Why? Because you're about to make a leap. The process of leaping is a process of focusing. Before 30, you gather resources. If you don't have them, you gather them, maximizing your utility value. In fact, gathering resources is like fishing. You use a big net to cast as wide as possible to find these resources. But children from families with very powerful parents are born with this net. So they'll be 5 years ahead of that 30-year mark. At 25, they've already spread this net, and social resources are all concentrated in. At this point, you must remember to start closing the net. If you don't, Your life will always be in that state of casting the net, and it'll stay that way until you retire at 60. Beijing has plenty of big talkers who are just like this. When they're young, they're like, wow, there's an opportunity here, another one there, this one's great. A new chance every 3 months, every 2 months. Then by 60, it's still a new chance. Every few months, they just can't focus. By the time you're 30, you must focus on just one thing. The saying, standing firm at 30, is very accurate. Take me, born in 1975. My 30th year was 2005. Luckily, I focused my efforts in 2005. Actually, even before 2004, I had already focused. Now, if you can't focus, you'll just end up wasting your years away. This focus isn't about picking an industry, like saying, I'll focus on new energy. That's not what I mean by focusing. Or like focusing on finance, or bankruptcy restructuring, or IPOs. That's still not real focus. Real focus means focusing on one specific thing. Before you turn 30, you must take all your early resources you've gathered, or inherited, or even resources you've utilized, and focus them all on one thing. It's the same for men and women. You might say, Old Wang, women don't need to do that. Women are hunting men, while men are hunting listed companies. Do you understand? If a man is hunting companies, he must focus on one thing before 30. A woman must focus on one person before 30, ideally by 25. Isn't it the same logic? You have to settle on one man. You can't be 30 years old and still dating 10 guys at once. Do you think you're 18? In that case, just as a woman wastes her youth and beauty once that freshness is gone, a man wastes his career in the same way once his professional prime is past. So, when you're young, your base attributes are important, but they aren't everything. By maximizing their utility value, a young person from a humble background who's well educated and has a sharp mind, entering society at 18 or 20, those 10 years before 30 are enough for them to change and build up their initial base attributes. Reaching a level that's close to or comparable to the starting point of those who have maxed out attributes. At least there's no massive gap anymore. Of course, if you're comparing yourself to the elite, then forget it. That's just being difficult. It's like humans living with whales. The whale grows up to be an orca, and you're just a troll. I'm talking about the usual high level, like the son of a research institute director or the daughter of a state-owned enterprise chairman, people at that level. Before you turn 30, you can build up a similar level of networking and relationship resources as they have. That is, if you're smart and know how to maximize your utility value. So, what does it mean to concentrate resources? What does it mean to focus your life's energy on just one thing? Let me use myself as an example, and use George Soros as an example. Back in 2004, I published a not 2004, it was 2005. That year, I published a paper in New Fortune magazine. It was over 20,000 words, titled Morgan Stanley's Financial Hunt for Menu. That paper changed New Gensheng's life. He used to brag on CCTV's dialogue, but after that, he became very low-key, eventually donated everything, and then he just left. Now he's actually my neighbor. Anyway, that article was published in 2005, when I was 30 years old. 6 months before I published that, actually. I published an article on Huang Guangyu about Gomei's entire IPO process and the whole backdoor listing. By 2004 and 2005, I realized that I only needed to do one thing in my life. Just acquiring one listed company for a backdoor listing is enough. I don't have that much ambition or that many desires. One success is plenty. Successfully restructuring one listed company means a net income of several hundred million. Isn't that enough? Do you really need 10? If you try to do too much, you'll just end up getting burned and landing in trouble. Because if your capacity isn't big enough, you can't handle it. So In 2005, I decided I'd never do media interviews or give lectures again. Why? Because I knew the art of dragon slaying and I'd finally found a dragon. Why would I teach others how to slay it while never seeing one myself? Since I've caught the dragon and I know how to slay it, wouldn't it be better to just slay it and enjoy the rewards myself? Why would I teach others to slay the dragon? That would be crazy. I teach them and they give me a few pennies. If I kill the dragon and roast it, it's amazing. I'd reach the top instantly. I'd have a feast. Wait, a feast means getting eaten by the dragon, right? You get the point, brothers. So you need to understand that when you have too many resources, your mind enters a state of intoxication. Some of my friends are still in that state, feeling like life is full of endless hope. They think everything is a damn opportunity, so many they can't even handle it, but that's like an addiction. In reality, you won't be able to seize a single one of them. And in this context, this is a personal experience of mine that I just want to share. I want to share a famous quote from George Soros. His quote is, "The capital market, like the US stock market, the capital market might be humanity's craziest invention." That's Soros' famous quote. The craziest group of lunatics in humanity. They invented a game and played it strictly by the rules, never getting tired of it and refusing to quit until they drove the whole world crazy. He's talking about Wall Street. What is this about? Focus. Because normal people aren't focused. Lunatics are very focused. A lunatic only does one thing, but as you keep doing it, you'll start to attract all the resources around you. This answers the toughest question my audience was just asking themselves. I can explain the truth in one sentence, you hear? You say, my dad isn't a billionaire, my dad isn't a governor, so what resources do I have to make people serve me? To make them revolve around me? Focus. Every time your friends eat or chat with you, they might be trying a new direction, but you only do one thing every single time. You make progress every time. Even if it's the least exciting compared to your friends, you're still moving forward, one step at a time. Eventually, these people will be like vines, like climbing plants, wrapping themselves around your trunk, relying on you to move forward. You become a vortex, and you're at the center. You don't need to follow any trends because you're the one creating them. Even if your parents are nobodies, you can still gather resources around you. If you stick with it for 10 years, you'll definitely make it happen. No matter the industry, give it 10 years and you'll definitely succeed. Listed company. I won't say the main board, but you can definitely make it onto the second board. Exactly, right? It's persistence that turns you into a Super Saiyan. Look at Dragon Ball. It's a simple kids show, but it holds deep truths. Why does Goku keep getting better? Because he doesn't think about anything else. He doesn't do anything else. He's not out chasing girls or building machines. He does one thing. He fights. He finds stronger opponents and fights. If he's beaten, he eats a senzu bean, recovers, and fights again. That's all he does. And that's how he becomes the strongest in the universe. Do you understand? By the time you're 30, if you're still holding a bunch of loose ends, well, when you're 20, having lots of loose ends is cool because other kids don't have any. But by 30, if you're still all loose ends and every time you meet someone you're pitching a new one, it only proves one thing. You have no ability to weave a net. You're just holding a handful of loose threads. Your life is bound to be a failure. Of course, I mean failure from a worldly perspective. You know, if we're talking about making money or building a big career, then you're definitely failing. Because you haven't cleared that essential hurdle of being 30. You can't get over it. You're just grabbing a bunch of parts. You can't assemble a car, you see? The more parts you grab, the further you are from actually having a car. So, let me tell you all another crucial truth. It's about how you judge the people around you. Who's a boss who can achieve big things or someone worth following, and who's just a big talker. Most people might not be destined to be the boss, but you still need this. Judgment ability. Scan your surroundings. Say you see 5 people with potential. Who's a real boss and who isn't? Who's just a fraud? It's actually very simple. It's called the 3-month change theory. I've shared this with my longtime fans in previous videos. There must be change in 3 months. If you focus your energy on one thing, just one thing, that thing will definitely see a huge change after 3 months. Whether it works out or not will become clear within those 3 months. For instance, let's say we are starting a brand new energy car business, or maybe we are attempting a backdoor listing, or perhaps we are founding a company from scratch, gathering partners together for a collaborative project, or even opening up a restaurant, or even if we decided to go all the way to Dongguan to open a Prince Hotel, or even a brothel. There must be change in 3 months. If there's no change, if someone told you 3 months ago they were doing this, and 3 months later you meet and they're still saying the same thing, or something similar, starting over from zero again, they're a fraud. Don't waste your time. Just enjoy life instead. There must be a big change in 3 months. One step at a time. Even for the biggest projects, 3 sets of 3 months is a year, and things should be taking shape. Remember the 3-month change theory. Now you might say, Old Wang, how do I get rich? You were so successful back then because the market was good, but the market is bad now. Wrong. Every era has its own opportunities. For ordinary people, this opportunity is definitely not about monetizing resources, because you don't have any. This opportunity lies in cross-industry breakthroughs. In an upward cycle, there are cross-industry breakthroughs in rising industries. In a downward cycle, there are cross-industry breakthroughs for the downward cycle. If you can't achieve a cross-industry breakthrough and just keep spinning your wheels in a single industry, you'll never beat those old-timers because they entered the field 10 or 20 years before you. How can you ever surpass them? So you must achieve a cross-industry move. Achieve a cross-industry dimensional reduction breakthrough. Open the industry barriers, take that dual vector foil, and smash it to pieces. Only then can you advance in life. Let me give you another example of how to go cross-industry and what that means. For instance, say I'm doing a restructuring for a listed company. I've studied the Mengniu case and the Gome case. I know how listed companies are restructured in Hong Kong. But if I'm doing a restructuring in the mainland, it doesn't have the same market environment as Hong Kong. And it lacks Hong Kong's financial standards. So how do you restructure Kulin? How do you restructure Guangming? I invested in 2 shell companies that no one else dared to touch. Kulin is in Harbin and Guangming is in Yichun. Think about who has come out of the capital markets in Harbin and Yichun. Who was with the Yichun Forestry Group? It was the people from the Guangming Group who built it up. The number 2 in China in our industry, his name was Xi Jikun. Wasn't the headquarters of Xi Jikun's Zhongji Group originally in Harbin? He started out working in Yichun. Do you think he never studied Chulin? Do you think he didn't have the money to acquire Guangming? Why didn't he do it? Why didn't Xi Jikun do it? Why did he take it over from me? Because he couldn't break through the barriers between the 2 industries. Even Xi Jikun couldn't achieve this dimensional breakthrough. Why is that? When I acquire these ST companies, I need to use the tax exemption policies from the split share structure reform for assets injected by major shareholders. This requires crossing the threshold into tax consulting. You might understand capital operations, but you might not understand tax consulting. And if you understand tax consulting, you might not understand capital operations. You're a tax specialist. You know the tax laws inside out. You know exactly when there's an exemption, like for the disabled or whatever. But you don't know why the split share structural reform is tax exempt. That's just one small cross-industry example. I won't even get into the multiple cross-industry moves later on. It would just make your head spin. You won't understand it. You won't be able to digest it. For example, why gold? Why not silver? Why not bronze? Why donate gold? Why not donate RMB? It's all cross-industry. Every time you cross industries, you can leave everyone behind, like overtaking a car, doing a 180-degree turn, a sharp curve. Hey, no matter how fast they are, it's useless because you've turned. Your track has shifted. Damn, the more they try to overtake you, the further they fall behind. By the time they circle back, they can only pay to take over your business. This is flexibility, breaking the fourth wall. Cross industry, it's very important. Understand? So when Evergrande went bankrupt a while ago, I told everyone which part of Evergrande's assets won't go bankrupt. And it's still making money. Actually, it was a small trial run, test of crossing industries. Is Qling red sausage from the Qling company? Yes, it is. Qling red sausage makes over 20 million in profit a year, even now. Those sausages sell out as soon as they're roasted. Before I came to Canada, I thought Qling red sausage was the best in the world. Only after coming here did I find out about Ukrainian red sausage. Holy crap, it's way better than Qlin's, much better. That's the ancestor of Qling red sausage. So many people say, Old Wang, you just made it by riding on your parents' coattails. You're wrong. When I graduated from college, I didn't feel like going to grad school. I just couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't stand studying. I had to follow that inner urge, that urge to enter society. That urge to start working, that was the call of destiny. Because I graduated around 1997, I could already feel the reform and opening up, the spring breeze of reform blowing everywhere. It was simply a time where a hero had to step up. I just had to do it. Just do it. Why study? I was in an ivory tower, out of touch with reality. So back in 97, I started working at the Restructuring Commission. I settled down and seriously carried bags for people there. When on business trips, I'd wash my director's socks. Because back then, two people shared a room. I saw his socks on the sink. And I thought, damn, is this a hint? Is he testing me? If I didn't wash them, it wouldn't be right, so I just did it. Oh man. From then on, the director promoted me all the way. It was about maximizing my utility. Wherever there was an opportunity, he'd say, Little Wang, come with me. I got in touch with countless private enterprises, including those from Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and the Northeast. That's how I rose. I was very versatile, capable in any situation. There was no, oh man, I can't do this for you. None of that. Then in 99, I felt I'd learned enough. I resigned in 2000. Well, the socks didn't smell. Think about it. Who among us actually walked? A director at the National Restructuring Commission, whether traveling or on business, when the hell did he have to walk? It was all planes and cars. So it was just a gesture. But hey, doing that, damn, that was impressive. Man, that was just, he's such a brown noser. This Little Wang is such a brown noser. So, back then, we had this kind of attitude toward learning. Why? Because I knew I came from an ordinary family and I didn't have those opportunities. If people didn't take me along, if those with resources didn't give me any or use me, I'd have nothing at all. So whenever they needed to print contracts or draft official documents, the work I produced was actually better looking than what came out of the general office. Why? Why the word earnest? I didn't think too much about what resources I could trade for. Back then, think about it, I was only 21 or 22. How could I have had such a clever mind? At that time, there was another guy from BIT at the National Restructuring Commission. His name was Huang, a Beijinger. He was 5 years older than us, from Department 5, which is electronic engineering. Surname Huang, named Huang Jian or Huang Yong, just a guy named Huang. He was like an older brother to me. Ooh. He was also in our division on a temporary assignment. He said he was hired from outside, having spent a few more years in the real world. He asked me directly, "Little Wang, are you are you our division chief's dog?" I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "Why are you working so hard all day? Your salary is only 800 yuan. I was making over 800 a month. Is it worth it for 800 yuan a month?" Then, two young women in our division about my age were there, giggling behind their hands. The implication was that Big Brother Huang was the wise one. This little Wang was just the chief's dog, doing everything the chief asked to the absolute extreme, all for just 800 yuan a month. So stupid. No future. I looked at him sternly and said, "I don't know what I'll get out of this, but I'm doing right by myself. Since I'm here, taking this salary and holding this position, whether it's the tasks he gives me or the projects I work on, I will definitely do them to the best of my ability. I'm not doing it for 800 yuan. I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing right by my own brain." I said, "I don't know how much you've accomplished." He had come back from Japan. Otherwise, the commission wouldn't have hired him. I said, "I don't know what you've achieved, but if you're lazy and slippery like this, one way when the boss is around and slacking off the moment he leaves, you'll never amount to anything in your life." Back then, I'd been out of college for less than a year, and I dared to shut down my senior like that. I left him completely speechless. Do you think I'm really a dog? Once I've learned everything and my value has been maximized, I'll turn around and head straight for Hong Kong. I'll resign without a second's hesitation. As soon as I made my first million, I took off for Hong Kong. I went to work for Li Guolin. Why? Because that's where the capital market is. I had to go. That's just my personality. Back then, I started a small company in Beijing in the year 2000. Where was it? Right behind BIT to the west, near heading toward Lannianchang, toward the Beijing TV station. There's a street called Changhua, location in the old city of Beijing. It's called Changhua. Is that a proper place? Proper places are all by the Imperial City Wall. They're all called things like Luo Guxiang. My place was something else. It was called Changhua. Changhua Village. I rented a space in Changhua Village, in one of those home-in types, like a 3-star or 2-star, little hotel, a small restaurant, or guest house, converted into a business office building. I rented a room in there. I forget how much it was, but it was very cheap. It was even cheaper than renting a one-bedroom apartment. I started my first company there. After setting up that shell company, I went off to work in Hong Kong. A Jetta, a Nokia 5110 cell phone, and a briefcase. That was everything I owned back then. It really was a shell company. That's how Yihe Capital started. A Jetta, a beautiful silver gray Jetta. I bought that Jetta instead of a house. When I left the Reform Commission, there was an old director from the Planning Commission, a lady from Wenzhou. She had a 2-bedroom apartment in the Shuangwu district of southern Beijing, somewhere inside the Second Ring Road. It was in one of those old 4-story buildings, apartments, or what we used to call dormitories. Basically, one stairwell for 4 floors, with 3 units per floor. She offered me that 2-bedroom for 100,000 yuan. She started at 120,000, then said, "Xiao Wang, if you want it, I'll give it to you for 100,000. I didn't buy it. I didn't have much money then, and if I bought the house, I couldn't afford the Jetta. I spent 139,000 on that Jetta. So I missed out on that house, but my career took off from there. Because once you have a car, when people want to meet, say, friends from Hong Kong or Taiwan visit, and they call you up, "Xiao Wang, where are you? We're staying at, say, the CTS Tower. Can you come over? If you don't have a car, you're screwed." You'd say, wait, I'll take the bus and be there in 4 hours. Forget it, the opportunity would be long gone. With a car, it's, I'll be right there. See you in the lobby cafe in 20 minutes. That's how the business grew, bit by bit. That was early on. I was definitely ahead of my time. In the year 2000, the person I was negotiating with was Justin Wang. Justin Wang. His grandfather was Wang Zhen. He had just returned from LA, the same age as me, born in 1975. He had a shaved head and looked exactly like Wang Zhen, like he was cast from the same mold. So that's how it started, step by step, building the foundation of Yihei Capital. I didn't think that much. I really didn't. When I bought that Jetta, I wasn't thinking, can I make this money back? A full tank of gas was 100 yuan, or 80 yuan. My monthly salary. Well, I'd quit, so I had no salary. The little pay Li Golin gave me wasn't even enough for a single flight to Hong Kong. What if you can't make it back? I didn't think that much. I just focused on getting the job at hand done. After meeting Qin Puicheng and seeing Jinghua Automation become Gome Electrical appliances, I just had to figure it out. It didn't matter if you wouldn't tell me. I went to the stock exchange and looked up all the data, downloaded everything. I bought an inkjet printer. It cost 2,000 yuan back then. I printed a whole damn sack of documents and read them line by line. Eventually, Huang Guangyu became my friend. What is that? That's Forrest Gump. Isn't that like Forrest Gump? But it really works. With that kind of spirit and a good head on your shoulders, it's hard not to succeed.